final stretch. I think I scared the heck out of the dogs, which is absolutely lovely. But I want to make sure everybody is filtering on in, that we have proof of life. You got to poke your head up. It's kind of like a whack-a-mole. I know some of you are afraid to poke your head up because you're going to get whacked in the head. But I guarantee it's going to be a fun day. Today is actually very cool. And we're going to have split streams. I know that's not the kind of term some folks are used to having, but we're going to have this morning session, and then later on this afternoon at about 3:15, we're going to have a special guest, and it is going to tie into our core challenge for today. And I am very excited because I love the special guest that's coming in, and we'll leave it at there, but definitely want to kind of, if you have 3:15 available in Eastern Standard Time, I strongly recommend, swinging by, listening. Of course, it's always going to be recorded, so you're not going to miss anything. And we will definitely have the links in the Slack channel. So yesterday was a big day, folks. We cleared out the waiting list. Those things, everything's closed. So we are what we are in this little band of journey that we're going in. And I'm really excited too, because our prize pool is not diluted, and you have so many things that are at your fingertips that you're going to need to complete. And, for those of you that maybe, don't have the resources or whatever, you do now. So I think that's really, really awesome. And for those of you that were new yesterday, I hope that you have found your tribe in the Slack channel. It is just awesome to see not just the cross-pollination, but the co-opetition. Co-opetition is a word that means competition, but also cooperation. It is something that happens a lot in, robotics. Obviously, many of you are FIRST Robotics or FRC coaches, but it happens also in combinators, Y Combinators, etc. You have this sense of, it's not cutthroat. Instead of having yourself on a single ladder climbing up, it's the acceptance that we're on a jungle gym and everybody has their own little ladder. And we want to make sure that everybody's playing nicely on the playground that we've created for you. And, that you're meeting new people, you're learning new skills, you're learning new products that might make your workflow better. All of these things are, adding up. There's nothing as awesome as compound interest. So saith the prophet Einstein. But he was talking about money. I'm talking about skills. When you can stack skills and make it and compound them, streamline your workflows, you become a powerhouse, and it's really fun to watch. A little bit of housekeeping. Yes, we are going to have our Thursday morning ideas to impact postmortem. We had class last night. To those that showed up for class and still did their project while doing the hackathon, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I know that it's tough. And for those of you that were just trying to, keep your nose down and focus, it is all recorded. So this morning, right after this segment, we're going to be starting about 15 minutes later. So instead of 11 Eastern Standard Time, it'll be 11:15. So you can, stretch, do your little calisthenics in front of the computer, get some coffee, use the facilities, do things that you need to do. And then we're going to have a very abbreviated postmortem, because really all you're doing is you're hooking your Stripe up to your landing pages. And what I wanted to do is make mention, for those of you that are listening in today that are not a part of the Ideas to Impact series, we're in season 9. So this has been going on for quite some time, over a year of, nights and Wednesdays and Thursdays, learning new skills using AI and our AI cohorts. But if you are creating your landing page and you need the integration of a payment mechanism like Stripe and are unfamiliar or don't know how to do that, you're welcome to come to class. We only let the speakers up that are enrolled so that they can get their projects done. This is kind of the last week before they do their presentations and things. So it's kind of like they're, putting a little icing on the cake and making sure it looks all pretty and things like that. But there's a lot of valuable information, and it is a live stream too. So you can watch how Alisher is going to walk you through how to connect your landing page to a Stripe page or a Stripe account. And, that's another thing that you may need. I hope you want to be paid for the thing that you're building. So all is welcome. All are welcome. You'll be in podcast mode and following along, hopefully picking up some tips and tricks along the way. So I just want to make sure you all know that you are welcome. Other than that, I'm really excited to see the various spaces yesterday. People are continuing to share their process and their progress out in the open. And when you're building out in the open, it's such a cool thing because people come out of the woodwork. People that might not even be a part of the hackathon are noticing the projects that people are building. And that's part of why we do hackathons. It's not just to win the prize. It's also to meet the right people that are going to help you on your journey and make your burden a little bit lighter. And I think that is one of the coolest things I've been noticing, just hunting and gathering, following you all along on Twitter, stalking your timelines and, hiding in the background as you're doing your various kinds of activities. I know the AI John, he had a special guest on his podcast, his X stream, Sharon doing some.
Sarah, hold on one second.
With Starbucks. Go ahead.
Leon, no, it is not normal if you hear nothing. There is definitely audio. So if you don't hear anything, shoot me a DM.
Yeah, you need to hear me. Other than that, I'm not going to make my camera go live. I'm not in a pretty state, folks. I'll just tell you. Well, Michigan's a pretty state, but Sarah is not. Okay, so pay attention. Starboss also has a very interesting take on this hackathon as being neurodiverse and brain injured. So if you want to follow that along, that's really cool. I know a lot of you fall into that category. And I've been learning a lot, actually. I've been learning a lot from everyone's take on how they approach a hackathon, because my experience has always been in real life. And so this is new for me too. At any rate, we're going to test and make sure that Ross is there. Obviously, he jumps in. He's answering a ton of DMs. You guys.
Literally so many right now. I need like 2 more minutes.
Yeah, they never sleep. And I want to make sure that if you're not getting immediate feedback like you're accustomed to, that's on us. We kind of trained you to have instant gratification. During this hackathon, the quickest, easiest way is to post in Slack, right? If it's out in the open, it's not just us answering it. Sometimes it's just, Good Samaritans and things like that. And we can work together to get those things done, because I know how hard it is when you hit a speed bump and you can't get over it. And the immediate thing is that your whole momentum is just halted. And it can be very frustrating because you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck here. I can't move on. And I just need help. And then you have that panic and that anxiety that kind of, bubbles up. And we want to make sure that we're trying to alleviate as much of that as possible. Hackathons can be brutal and they can be very disconnected. You can feel like, alone. But like John Dunn said, no man's an island. And sometimes we just need signal flares. It's not that we're avoiding anybody. It's just that we can't see you. So if you're in Slack, which you should be, I don't think that we have any participants that aren't in Slack, although.
Well, if you don't, it's in the email. So they'll have an email to join Slack.
Exactly. And you can't submit anything without having the Slack channel. So I'm going to reiterate again. Morgan had posted 2 days ago a screenshot of the little thumbtack up at the top. That is where all your links are, folks. I have 14 messages asking where these links are. I'm going to make sure to say it again. Up at the top of your Slack channel, it is a thumbtack. Now,
Well,
thumbtacks,
just to be
go ahead.
clear, only when you're in AI Mastery Slack channel.
Yes, that is correct. You want to be in the AI Mastery Slack channel. For those of you that are in Ideas to Impact, you're not going to find squat diddly about the hackathon in that Slack channel. So yes, that is a very important question and something to point out. But up at the top, there's a thumbtack. A thumbtack is, I don't know how to explain it. You can look at an icon. You can, use your large language model of choice, put in a thumbtack icon, and then you can see what it is, right? I know I take it for granted that everybody knows what a thumbtack is, or a pinned post. It's just basically a little who's it with a very sharp point, right? When you click in that, you are going to have the downloads of each day. So you're going to have the challenges for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you will have Thursday and Friday. Those checklists are an amalgamation of what we talked about, what is required for you, what is above and beyond, the kind of expectations that you should accomplish. And then at the very bottom, there is a link. That link leads to a Google form or a Google Doc where you are going to put your web page. So you have to have the web address to the web page that you are building. And then each subsequent challenge, you are adding those components and turning in a fresh new link, right? So that we can see, the changes, we can see how you have the integrations and everything else. This is a checks and balances type thing. It's not designed to, exasperate or piss you off, right? We need to know that you had proof of human during the process, and that certain components were integrated. Or, we're suggesting, obviously, our sponsors. Why? Because they gave us a ton of money and a lot of things for you to play with, or high value, I should say that differently. They gave us a lot of high value things to play with, right? And it cost them a lot to do that. So we're obviously going to put a spotlight on those folks. Are there alternatives out in the wild? Absolutely. I know some of you blew through your tokens like within an hour. Smoke. I know you're listening in. And he's like, dude, I don't have any more. Now, that doesn't mean that you're left high and dry, because some of you also don't know how to consolidate or conserve your tokens in a efficient way. This might be new to you or new products to you. If you hit snags like that, just DM Ross so that in the Slack channel and say, hey, I hit a roadblock, I used up everything, I made a mistake or whatever. And we can try to do our best to, give you other alternatives. You have to know how to pivot and be flexible. There are some things out in the wild that are free, or you'd have to do a little bit of finagling and extra effort. It happens. I come from a robotics team. We do not have a lot of money, but we have a lot of creativity. And so it's a trade-off. We have to spend a whole heck of a lot more time building because we don't have the resources to buy the canned product, So it just is a trade-off. Everybody has to go through it. I want to make sure you all know that, yes, you're special, but in this specific circumstance, no, you're not special. Everybody is struggling with resources. Okay. So we just want to make sure that that's okay. One other thing that was mentioned on day one, but our guests on Wednesday who just joined may not know, it's always smart to have like a prepaid credit card or something just for your development, your dev side, your building side, your hackathon side, because a lot of these products require you to use a credit card, right? And some people get very squeamish about that because they're like, dude, I don't want to be charged after the, hackathon, and I want to have good fences. Just having a card like that, maybe it has $100 on it or less, so that you can sign up and have the required KYC, know your customer. That's why these companies are doing it. They're not doing it to charge you, they're doing it to make sure you're not a bot. And so you have to have these kinds of jumping through the hoops. Yes, I know it's annoying, but we do tell our students to have a credit card of choice, prepaid, at the ready. I know I do for our classes, because sometimes I don't want my real accounts to be out there in the wild, but I still want to play, right? So that is something that I wanted to mention. Yes, you do have to do that. Yes, it sucks, I understand, but when you look at it through the prism of the integrity of the game, it makes sense, right? You want to make sure that we know who you are. We also want to make sure that there's a trail of accountability, because they're giving away big prizes, which means we do have to have an audited kind of system. We have to know where all of this stuff goes and give an account. Why? Because we want to do more hackathons and we want to have bigger hackathons. And if we can be responsible with the little stuff now, they're going to entrust us with the big stuff later. So I hope that has cleared up everything. I know that Ross is done, I think. And we're going to kind of zhuzh our way into Thursday. He's going to recap what needed to be done for yesterday, and then what our challenge is for today. And then we will be closing up shop and then heading over to class. Ross, I know you haven't had any sleep, because I saw a text from you at Dark 100. And how you doing? How's the back end over there with all of the folks at Grand Central Station? What have you seen that's really awesome?
Well, I haven't checked all the submissions, because I want to give people an opportunity to actually finish. But the ones that have shared something, it has been incredible to see. What you guys have shared is so cool. And some of the designs do not scream AI, which is amazing. And I've been impressed so far, but we're going to take a full deep dive on Friday into everyone's projects. So it should be fun. I'm going to share my screen, but Slack is being slightly strange. So we'll see how this goes. Let me know if it works. You guys seeing the website?
Affirmative, Ghost Rider.
Okay, so a few things. Our systems were not set up properly to accommodate like a bunch of new codes, because we just launched the AI Tutor API. So those of you who messaged about it, expect to get upgraded accounts. But there's one thing you have to do, and we're going to go over that right now. So those of you who want to use the software that you're seeing right now, it's available. If you're an AI Tutor customer, it's available right now to use. If you're not a customer, we're going to be allowing people to use it. But the first thing you have to do is create a workflow, or we don't actually see you in the system. So the way it works is you just choose a model that you want to use, and then you create a name, a template, and just hit save. If you do this, we'll be able to upgrade your account. If you don't create a workflow at all, we don't see you in our databases, which is something we're going to talk about today, because that's the theme of today, data. So Sarah, can you tell the wonderful people why databases are important?
Oh my heavens, yes I can. Okay, databases in general. I guess in DGen world, if you don't own your own keys, it's not yours, right? Databases are your lifeblood. They are the heartbeat of your business, right? You need to have the ability to capture not just your clients, but also other important things. And as a part of your workflow, you need to have those things in the back end so that you're not losing track of these are your income streams, right? So it's very, very important. And if you don't have that going in, going out, it's a big problem. And persistent data is also very important. You want to make sure that you have everything up to date, that it's secure. There have been people that think that their databases are secure, and then all of a sudden they're gone. and you're screwed. It's the equivalent, for those that aren't familiar, if you logged into, let's say, Twitter or Facebook, pick your poison, and your entire account is gone. All of your contacts are gone, all of your DM messages are gone, all of it. You sit there and it's a state of shock, and so we want to make sure that there are lots of redundancies, and when you're creating your workflow, you want to make sure that there's a way to have that kind of, persistence. You want to have your stuff. So databases can be all sorts of different things. Obviously, I'm married to an accountant, so databases and spreadsheets and numbers and all of the analytics, everything has to kind of come together. And if you don't have that, um, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of doing your entire project. But yeah, I'm really excited about today too. I know this is kind of a tangent, but our guest is definitely going to show you how persistent data works. So having these databases and making sure that they are permanent is something that I think is very fascinating. But go ahead, Ross. I hope I answered some of your question.
You definitely did, and I'm gonna go over a few things with you guys. Some things that I learned that helped me with data stuff. But basically, the challenge today is really not, I would say, a challenge. I would say it is a challenge, but it's more of like a necessity if you're actually going to launch something. So what we're talking about for day 4 is data and memory systems that are both very, very, very important. And the challenge is to add database integration, persistent storage, user management, so your app saves conversations, AI interactions, remembers users, lets people log in, and maintains data across sessions and devices. Now, this is something we take for granted. A lot of us, we use apps on the phone. We not apps, but we use websites on the phone and then expect when we log into the actual website that it's the same, that the data is the same, that my username is the same, and this is what we expect. But just because we expect it doesn't mean it's like something that automatically happens, right? It's not magic. We have to build these things. So what you want to be able to accomplish for day 4 for your app is to integrate a database to store user data and or conversations and interactions, any sort of data you're generating. Another big one is user auth and account management. So can I log into your app? Can I reset my password? If I type the wrong password, am I not able to get in? If I write Sarah's email and write a password that just says hello, if I'm able to get in, that's not secure if I get into Sarah's account. Also, we want to have user preferences to their storage and personalization features. So think light mode, dark mode, don't email me, things like that are important if you're going to have those features. And then the data models, so SQL or any sort of way to manage data in any format or any language for scalable storage. So the core deliverables of this challenge are database integration with anything but not limited to these examples. Again, not just these examples. SQLite, Firebase, Supabase, Mongo, Postgres, Neon, Arweave, all of these things are all storage. Me personally, I am a fanboy for Neon. I love Neon. And I love MongoDB. So we're going to look at all of them. User registration and login system. And this is important. You need this. This is one of the actual requirements. The app can have any login you want. So Everflow, it could be anything. It could be login with Apple, login with Google, anything. Does not have to have email password. And Cassandra, if you already have storage built in, you just need to like make sure you're submitting whatever has storage in the challenge. Any storage works. We also want to make sure we're keeping conversation history for AI. So if I log in today and I log in tomorrow, I should have the same information available in my account. And that's, I think, really, really, really important. And having the persistence of the storage so that it exists past days and months. So you know that you have completed this challenge. And for the AI Tutor RAG API, Sharon, just reach out in Slack and we'll give it to you. I don't want to put it here because people won't be able to sign up and then they'll get mad because it's part of AI Tutor. So just go to Slack and I got you. So this, if you know you completed this, if your database is connected and you're actually storing data, like you go to Neon and you're like, oh, I see stuff like users and databases. And if a user can actually create an account, so think about us for the judges. When we log in, we need to be able to log in. If we can't log in to see your app, we can't even figure out what your app does. And at the end, you will have a little place to describe your app just in case something crazy like that happens. We'll reach out to you. But really, really, really test, create accounts, and log in. This is really important, especially for when we are looking at your app. Because if we are not able to see the app, we can't judge it.
Just jumping in real quick, this is why the folks that are building in public have a first mover advantage, because they have people, I'm going to use Smoke as an example just because yesterday he was just absolutely freaking giddy about his project and he wanted everybody to try it. And that is such an important part of the iteration project or process. You don't want the first time you use your app to be when you're turning it in. You want other people's opinions. You want to know if it's actually working. And you want someone that is removed from this hackathon, a third party observer, right? It could be someone in the Slack channel, but maybe you want to hold your idea and have it close to your vest. Well, then find someone in your ecosystem that has no idea you're doing a hackathon and say, hey, I'm building something. Can you test this link? Can you play around with it and see if it goes to where it's supposed to go? This is super important. And it's important too because today is Thursday. You have 3 days and you do not want to come to like Saturday night or Sunday morning and realize your idea is not so fleshed out and good, right? Or that your links don't work, or that there is something that doesn't work. You don't want to wait until the last minute to get that bad news, right? You want to make sure that you are always, iterating every step of the process. And that's also why, turning in your work each day is so important, because then you're turning it in, you are actually testing each component. So you have your chances are, the odds are in your favor that everything will come together towards the end of the week. So it is something that's really important. And those that are building in public and sharing their progress, they're getting immediate feedback, which is just invaluable. So it's not saying that you have to hold all of your light under a basket and not share and everything else. That's up to you. It's perfectly legit, but don't go out into public without rehearsing your speech, folks. I mean, that's just a gimme. You can't just off the cuff and think it's going to win. The prizes are big enough that you want to make sure that every little thing that is in your control works. There are going to be a lot of things that are out of your control. Something could go down. One of the things that you're using could go down, all of that. But that's out of your control. What you do have control over is to make sure that all of those I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and getting the opinion of people outside of your sphere of influence, or people that know you're in the hackathon, to see what they, what do normies think of your idea. You might be married to this idea and you think, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. I needed a deviled egg app to teach me how to make deviled eggs or how to use a dozen eggs right now. And then the other people are like, dude, why are you having 18 to 24 to 48 eggs a day? I don't need that many. And this app is not my cup of tea, right? These are the kinds of feedbacks and critiques that you need. Sometimes you're building something that, you find incredibly relevant, but other people are like, I really don't get it. And if someone is looking at your front page and they can't connect the dots without you leading them and talking them through it, then you need to kind of zhuzh it a little bit so that it can communicate without you being there. And that's kind of making sure that all those links and those pathways are clear so that people can experience your world and go meandering down your little Wonka universe unintended. Put it that way. All right. Sorry. Continue, Ross.
No, it's true. It's so important. We don't have the luxury of having a rejudgment or meeting again next week. So it's really important that you triple check this one thing, especially on anything you're submitting, because we won't have time to reach out to every single person that potentially has an auth issue. I'm looking at comments. Yes, you can just use Google authentication. It doesn't matter how you do it. It just has to exist. And that's very, very, very important, I would say. Now, being able to persist data, obviously that's another requirement. When a user returns to the app, they're able to refresh and their data is there using whatever storage. Data should be organized efficiently for good performance. What does this mean? It means that if your page loads for a minute, a whole minute, 60 seconds, that's probably an issue. You should probably address that. And that's the main things, the success criteria for the core deliverables. And if you somehow are all done with that, which is amazing, the bonus challenges, I would say, is, and we do have something coming for anyone who completes the bonuses. So pay attention to the bonus challenges. Add conversation, search, and filtering. So search for things. Create user analytics and usage tracking. Adding some sort of inventory or organization system. And implement backups and recovery. And multi-device synchronization. And all of those are bonus and not required. I will say, for databases, some easy to use, easy start. Like, I never did this before. Sorry if you heard that, my mic just fell. I never did this before, and I don't know
Wait. Don't finish your sentence and put the mic close to you because you sound like you're far away.
No, it should be good now. I fixed
There
it.
we are. It's perfect. Continue.
So, really, really quick facts about the databases. An easy start, like you never did this, I don't know what's going on, my first time. Think about easy solutions like SQLite on cPanel, that's a database, or Firebase. Ross, can we have a section? Yeah, we can do that. But we are taking submissions from the Google Doc though, or the Google Forms. So make sure you're using the Google Forms. So I don't mind creating a way for you guys to share some links, but the official submissions are going to happen via a Google form that you submit. There is an additional challenge. It is called GPTR, and that GDPR, and it is actually true. Though it's not part of officially a challenge, if you're in Europe and you're building anything related to online and data, you're going to have to follow these rules. And the GDPR is really easy to implement in things like WordPress and Next.js. But if you're going for scalable, like I want to build something that's going to have potentially 500 to 1,000 people, Postgres and Mongo and Supabase are perfect for you. That would be my recommendation. If you are looking for where you should do authentication, I would say Firebase has authentication also. Supabase also has it, so you can get database and auth. So does Firebase. So these are good options that kind of give you two of the things you need. And for cloud storage and hosting, I will say Vercel and Vercel Storage are absolutely incredible and free. Outside of that, I would say Planet Scale and Railway are more industry options. So Railway is metal servers that can run Postgres, and Planet Scale is also metal servers. Now, if you're like, what does this mean? Metal server. Metal servers is not serverless, guys. It means a literal, actual server for your app. Um, Morgan, yeah, that's fine. Supabase can grow. Machine runs on Supabase, people. We're using this.
These are important Legos, folks. So when you're thinking about a business or thinking about a project that you're turning in that is relevant, okay, if you're intending to be relevant in the lives of others, you need scalability. And that is one of the most important things. Businesses live or die by their ability to scale. If you don't have those pieces in place, then you're going to have a big problem. You want to make sure that your business can grow and that you can always stack new bricks of whatever it is you need to accommodate the growth of your good or service. So, scalability is one of those things that will make or break your business. And so, if you have something that is super successful and people are like, dude, this is freaking awesome, then you have to already think about the inevitability of it. What happens if it goes viral? These are the kinds of growing pains that can happen. And sometimes going viral is the kiss of death for some people because they just can't catch up, or they haven't set it up in the right way where you're not going to be, getting a surprise bill for $50,000 in the middle of the night, which can happen. So you want to make sure that you're understanding what the building blocks do, and you have that, ability to scale. That's all I'm going to say. I hope that answers the question. Go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be sending this out to all of you guys, but just a quick little overview. This is Neon, and all links are being dropped in real time in Slack. So if you see me talk about something, it's gonna show up in the channel. Neon is my favorite way to Postgres right now, currently. The reason is because their free tier is absolutely mind-boggling. So shout out to Neon. If anyone at Neon is listening, you guys are awesome. And I can tell you firsthand that free tier gives you enough projects to do like 10 hackathons. And the databases don't go to sleep, which is incredible. And if you don't know what Postgres is, today's your day to learn. But Postgres and Neon would be my top choice for databases if I didn't need any other features. I will tell you, George, I found myself saying the exact same thing a few years ago. I'm just like, what is this? Or like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But yeah, they're actually open source and they have an amazing hosted platform. And you don't even have to pay anything. You just sign up, George, and you get 10 databases, fully scaling and branching. It's one of the best internet secrets, I think, and Neon should talk about this more. Now, on the other, what were you going to say? No, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, if you scroll down a little bit at the very bottom of the Postgres, when you see a whole bunch of big companies that are using it, it's trusted in all of these teams. Check out those teams because they're using these things, Replit, etc. You want to figure out how these all kind of connect together. So, like you said, George, this might be new to you. And what is this? This is amazing. That is one of the kind of secrets is when you find something new and that shiny little nugget, find out who else is using it, because then you can kind of reverse engineer and create your systems. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Right? There are a lot of very brilliant people that have created some incredible workflows, and you are shooting yourself in the foot if you're not using those existing things out there in new and creative ways. That is one of the things. It doesn't have to always be the novelty of something so new that no one else is using it. It could be the novelty of using an existing thing that loads of people already use in a very creative way. And that is one of the things that drives innovation, is that, you know, it takes a lot for research and development, right? It takes a lot of capital, energy, really smart people, etc. But if you can take a snippet of code off of GitHub and you can kind of branch it out, you could send it through a white paper or something through one of your large language models, and you can suss out and distill down that little nugget, and you say, I can build with this. I'm going to use it in a different way. That pushes all of innovation. And so, you know, having these kinds of things at your fingertips, this is also really important. It's free. You have 10 databases. This means that you can iterate, you can practice, you can innovate, you can, you know, have this in your little skunk works, and not have, you know, the burden of huge cost right off the bat, because, you know, you don't
It's
have the
so
money.
true.
And
And
this is why it's
and
important.
that like leads me into the next things that you're gonna see in this in the Slack. So I wanted to make sure before we ended the requirements that you guys got to see some of my favorites. So this is Mongo, and we use them in many of our platforms. Totally free to use, amazing. So between Mongo and Neon, your databases are covered for sure, 100%. And depending on how you want to handle auth, I have some favorites. Clerk is number one top favorite for hands off. I don't want to code auth. Easy, easy, easy auth. So if you want super easy, Clerk is the easiest authentication platform that you can possibly use because it lets you manage everything inside their dashboard, and it's also free until you scale. Then you actually have to pay. But then there's Better Auth, totally free, open source, easy to use if you know how to code. I prefer this over any sort of custom built solution because this works really good. We're currently using this on machine, and it's incredible. And this is the next variant, Next Auth, totally free if you're using Next.js. Also, if you have any questions, make sure you're in the Slack channel. We're here monitoring Slack for the rest of the day. 2, if you are waiting a turbo pack and you just got accepted, shoot me a DM. All turbo packs have been dispersed from my understanding. So if you don't have it in your DM, let me know and we'll make sure that happens. And we do have something coming for some of you guys that have requested. So we might have a recharge pack. I'll have more on that later today. But we also have the last 10, 15 minutes or so, we have a guest here today, one of our judges who was kind enough to come talk with us and tell us some stuff about what he does and some information. And then we're actually going to see him again later in the day, and we're going to do a spotlight on LTO. And we're going to talk about what he's working on and how it could benefit you guys.
Yay! I love LTO.
So in about 1 second, I'm going to bring LTO up, and hopefully his mic is good.
Mm-hmm. It should be good.
And
hello.
Feel free, LTO, to, if you want to share anything, just put it here and I'll put it up.
Okay, great. Should I just introduce myself? I just noticed I was brought up on stage.
You are, yeah, definitely.
Yes, introduce yourself.
Unless
first, introduce you.
I love the way you introduced me, so I do not mind. But at least let me say hello to Sarah, hello to Ross, the entire TSI community. I am very impressed with everything that's happening. I've been following along for over a year because I follow Sarah everywhere she goes. She's amazing. But yeah, I'll let you take care of the rest, Sarah, if you'd like.
One, LTO is one of my favorite people. Why? Because he's a self-made person. And he's self-made by creating a community that elevates talent. And he is just one of my favorite stories in terms of how he arrived at Arweave and how he became the lead of Bazaar. The reason why LTO is a very powerful judge. We have really cool judges, I will just say that. But today we're talking about data, and we're talking about storage, and we're talking about persistence. And there is no other ecosystem that even comes close to the permaweb. And LTO is one of the folks that in the digital overlay is involved with so many different communities. It's not just I'm working for Arweave, it's I am working in many different communities in Web3. If you're not familiar with Web3 means, it means that, there are different kinds of ways to solidify ownership, these parallel economies that involve blockchain. And so today we're going to meet LTO, but I strongly recommend, at 3:15 this afternoon to come and hear his entire story and hear exactly how you can use the tools that he has and have it augment your experience in the hackathon. LTO has been a speaker at New York NFT. He's been on the big stage. He's also been on the big screen out there in Times Square. His projects, his artwork have been, recognized and elevated. He's an artist. He's a developer. He's an entrepreneur that has worn many different hats, and his wisdom is something that I tap into all the time. So I hope that you introduce yourself, get to know him. He's a very special person, and I can't imagine my world without him. I'm a better human because of LTO and his community. So welcome, LTO. I am so thankful for you. Go on to greatness and tell these folks how you're going to change their world.
Oh my gosh. I feel so fortunate to be building with someone like Sarah. And for anyone who does not know our journey, we have been building since early 2022 together as Web3 community members. What brought Sarah and I together was Hashlips. And if you don't know Hashlips, I recommend everyone here go to YouTube, search the word Hashlips, and find this guy. He has given a lot of his time to the Web3 community by creating tutorials on things like writing Solidity smart contracts if you're working on Ethereum, and just building NFT or digital collectibles collections. Uh, Great individual. But along that journey, he created a Discord server. And soon after, I joined in and met Sarah. And we have been building as community members ever since, to the point that I think late 2022, we started writing a book together in Discord that later on Sarah and Comfort took it upon themselves to edit and publish. And later on, it was even sent to the moon. So this is what's possible when you build as a community in Web3. And like Sarah said, like my journey is more like a Cinderella story in a way, because I for many years after I obtained my degree in computer science back in 2008, I struggled to find a job or find an opportunity. And my journey took me to just support my family and find a different way to make money. And it was not necessarily in tech. But a few years later, I decided to teach myself everything that I needed to know using things that we have available right now: YouTube, blog posts, Reddit, whatnot, GitHub, Stack Overflow, and keep myself up to date with the latest technology. Soon after, I started setting up my own rig to mine Ethereum back in 2016. Later on, I was one of those apes in Reddit and found Robinhood, who did some really shady things with their platform back in early 2021. I was one of those people that was outraged, and that brought me to find Dogecoin, and that was the vehicle that taught me about Web3 and the NFT space, the other side of blockchain. And I just feel so fortunate because once I found the Web3, I was able to pursue my career. And people didn't judge me for the connotation on my name or the color of my skin. They judged me for my skills. And I am now proud to say that I work at Ford Research. The founder of Ford Research is also Sam Williams. He founded Arweave, and like a year and a half after working here, I was tapped by Sam to lead Bazaar. And Bazaar is basically the leading marketplace for trading atomic assets on Arweave. And atomic assets are our version of NFTs. Just quick summary, the benefits are you can upload everything on chain in one transaction, so you don't have to separate your metadata, your images from your smart contract. And also you can add licenses to your digital assets that live on Arweave with that in the initial payment for at least 200 years. And I think if we focus on that snippet of the technology, it's enough for anyone to try and get on board. Like, upload any digital file, anything that's meaningful for you, or even a website. Put it on Arweave. You don't have to pay weekly or monthly or yearly fees to store it for hosting on services like Bluehost or GoDaddy. Just take that build file, and we're going to talk about that a little later. I'm going to go through a little demo as to how you can do that. Upload it to Arweave, create what we call a manifest file, which is able to map everything in that build folder, and you instantly have a website live on the internet that has end-to-end encryption. So that's another burden that we take away from the developer. They don't have to worry about let's encrypt encryptions or SSL encryptions on their websites. The RIO gateways, which I will talk about later, they take care of that for you when they fetch the data from Arweave. So it's very impressive tech, and I feel that is very interoperable with anything that anyone is building here. And we're going to tackle that a little later. But that's a brief introduction of myself. I hope that was pleasant
You did
to
awesome.
hear.
You did awesome. I just wanted to point out something that you said that was really, really important. Many of you are creating a project and you need proper documentation and you want it to be permanent. If you're building out an open, how do you protect your IP, your intellectual property? Minting it or having it stored on Arweave gives it a digital notary, a timestamp. So as you're doing each of your projects throughout the course of this week, each one of your assignments, before you turn it in or after you turn it in, but before you turn in all of these things, having it minted or having it put on Arweave is really important just for the documentation process. So he mentioned our lunar project. Every piece of documentation was minted on Arweave. It means that it's going to have persistence for over 200 years. So long after I'm gone and I escape my mortal coil, people can go on the permaweb and see the breadcrumbs that I left. I am a good ancestor because I left breadcrumbs for my future dwellers to see what I've done. And what's fascinating is, let's say you create something really powerful. You can sell it on Bazaar. You can set a royalty on Bazaar. You can, if you have a piece of intellectual data, like let's say I am a designer and I create a design and it's going to be on a shower curtain. I get a royalty every time that is sold. It's the same kind of thing. And that's why LTO is a very big part of your entire quiver of tools, because as you build, you should be looking at parallel economies. You should be looking at persistence, and you should be looking at how to document your project where attribution is given to you, it's digitally notarized, and it is able to be monetized by you personally. So those are the kinds of things that you have to marinate on. And it was really important that we have it here on Thursday, is that you are now coming to the end of your hackathon and you want to make sure that your information is secure, that it doesn't go away. You have a database that belongs to you. So that is why LTO is one of the kind of people that you want to have in your corner pocket. But continue. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow, my dear. Go ahead.
Oh, you never do. You never do. I think we have a nice synchronicity when we work together, and we've spoken in spaces for years. So I just love when I get a chance to connect with you, Sarah, and Ross as well. I've been admiring your work for over a year, and I think your approach to helping humanity is great. Like the fact that you guys are caring about low-income kids in the city and making sure that they have access to technology that they probably would never have if it wasn't for TSI. It's impressive. We need to see more of that, and I personally want to get involved in any way that I can to support. But yeah, go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it, man. We have worked really, really hard to get to a point where we can actually make some sort of a difference. And also, before we ended, I really wanted to thank you for coming up and talking with us on live stream and taking time out to be a judge, because I think you bring in, a different perspective than just like your standard person in internet and doing business on the web.
Well, thank you. That's what I'm shooting for, right? I am an individual. I am myself, but that doesn't mean that I cannot make an impact. And for many years, as an American citizen growing up in this country, I felt like I had to look a certain way to fit into corporate America, and that's not my cup of tea, to be honest. It's what's inside that counts. And thanks to Web3, I have been able to prove myself right, and because of the effort that I put into the space and just being willing to help others freely. Like that's what was able to allow other people to vouch for me. Me using whatever skills I had as a developer to help others that needed help. And I learned that from Hashlips, I learned that from Sarah, and I learned that from my Web3 community. But not to worry with my personal stuff, and let's just tackle Arweave, as Sarah very eloquently said. It's a solution for many problems. Even if you're not a developer and you have some valuables at home, maybe some old photographs that are from the 50s that your grandparents left you and they're deteriorating. Well, eventually it's going to disappear. And if you store this on chain, then you want to make sure that it has permanence, that once you pay, that it's going to outlive you and you won't have to worry about it. Like Sarah mentioned, you want to leave something for your grandchildren to look back on. Arweave allows you to do that because they have a completely different business model than other technologies like IPFS. These technologies are used just to store data. And if you're familiar with creating NFT collections on Ethereum, usually create a Solidity smart contract, deploy it on the Ethereum chain, but then you got to point the URI to where the data lives. And that's the metadata and the images. So that creates a few points of failure because there are instances where, for example, if you use Pinata, they may charge you a certain amount of money a month if you upload a certain amount of data. Or if depending on IPFS, you got to make sure that the nodes keep pinning the data for it to be accessible. The difference with Arweave, you pay once. That initial payments, whatever it is, pennies for an image, maybe a dollar or two for a complete app on Arweave. That initial payment assures you that it's going to be available for at least 200 years, thanks to an endowment that's set up, and also just a mathematical equation that factors in the lifespan of hard drives, and that eventually these things are going to get cheaper, so it'll be less expensive to participate as a node in the network. So when you factor all that in, eventually this thing is going to get cheaper over time. But that gives you that 200 years of assurance with that initial payment. That means things like link rots, they're gone. 404 errors are not a thing on Arweave. Right now we're seeing huge number of websites from the .com era, or even as early as 2013, disappearing. Like you can't access the data on those websites because they were either hosted on a private server or on a centralized server, and the owner didn't pay the fees, or maybe they just the company decided to take it down. You're at their mercy. So with Arweave, you don't have to worry about that. The nodes take on the job of replicating the data throughout the network, and they're incentivized with the native L1 AR token. And that's all the nodes are incentivized to do. Once you upload something, they want to replicate it across the network. So no one entity can take it down. We've seen situations where journalists from communist countries that restrict what they post, they upload it to Arweave, and that's it. There's nothing that they can do. That article is going to be available to anyone around the world through the internet. So these are like a few examples of issues that are being solved right now with this technology. But there is so much more to Arweave than just that. And I can speak for hours on this, but I'll just say we had the hard drive, right? Arweave layer 1 to store data, and now we have the CPU, which is the hyperparallel computer with AL.
Yeah.
You're gonna say, Ross?
I'll just say, if you guys are interested in this, which I think you guys are, be sure to come check out the live stream. It's going to be around 3:15 Eastern, and we'll put it in the Slack, and we're going to have a chat with LTF about Arweave and Bazaar.
Yes, we're gonna try this, but I think we can get through it. We have this tool, and I know it's already 11:01. I don't want to go past the time, but we have this open source tool called PermaWeb Deploy that allows you to do many interesting things. One, you can deploy your websites or your app directly from your local machine to Arweave with just a command. But also, you can create a YAML file you leveraging GitHub Actions and automatically deploy the website to Arweave anytime you merge with the main branch, right? So it automates that process of taking that website and updating it for you. But it also goes a further step. In blockchain, we have on Ethereum, we have ENSs. On Arweave, we have RNSs, and these are just names that you can use to store records or hashes in. So, for example, Bazaar is an RNS. If you want to reach the websites, all you got to do is type Bazaar on your browser and add a gateway. You can try ar.io, and that'll take you to the websites. Instead of using a long 43 character hash to reach the data on Arweave, you can use an RNS. So PermaWeb Deploy also updates that hash in the RNS that you choose so that you don't have to do it. So you have basically the entire process of updating, deploying, and also adding the newest hash of that latest website to the same RNS. And that's all done automatically. I'm going to try to walk you guys through it, hoping that it may help someone here add permanence to whatever they're building. So yeah, definitely tune in later on if you want to be a part of that.
Just to jump in real quickly, ARNS is the equivalent of, let's say, if you buy a domain on GoDaddy, except instead of having it in the ICANN, where you're basically leasing it on GoDaddy. On Arweave, you own it forever. You can lease it for like a year, but then you can also own it forever, so you don't have to constantly pay. And this is really important because let's say if something happens to you and you're unable to pay your domain fees, right? They go out into the wild and someone else can snag them. So your company, your kids, whatever, don't have the ability to have those digital assets and intellectual property that you've created. So if you have a permanent website where you can household all of your stuff, that is something that you can actually hand off to somebody else. It'll be in your estate documents, and those are the kinds of things that build a generational wealth. Wealth can be in many different ways. It can be currency, yes, but it also can be wisdom. It can be, your family history, things that may have been erased, or maybe, your culture wasn't even documented. Right? These are the kinds of things that you can think on. And when you're building your project, for this hackathon specifically, you're building an AI app. Well, what happens to those conversations? What happens to those meaningful interactions? Are they going to be ephemeral and disappear? Or are you creating something that is designed to outlast you? And in that case, you have to understand data, you have to understand persistence, you have to understand these databases, and that's part of the challenge for today. So we're going to close up, and Ross is going to explain our fourth challenge. You're definitely going to have a run through real quick. Everything is posted in the Slack channel. I did post the PermaWeb Deploy link that El Tio had mentioned, as well as arweave.org, so that you can learn a little bit more about that company. And I will tell you, they host hackathons all the flipping time, and they have a hackathon coming up. So if this has wetted your whistle, as they say, and you now want to do another hackathon, I highly recommend it. You're going to learn a lot of stuff, and you're going to, they have a huge database of tutorials. They do all sorts of stuff. So highly recommend, especially if you want to be a good ancestor and relevant to future dwellers. Ross, did you want to go over the challenge real quick? And then we're going to close down for today. We are going a little over, and then we
I'm gonna do all of the. I'm gonna put the actual specifications in Slack, but basically, it's just data, persistence, and memory. That's the TLDR for the themes. But thank you all for waking up again today to hang out with us. And we will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we are going to have another guest. So get ready for that. And have a good rest of your day, and happy building, and good luck.
Happy building. Go on to greatness, folks. Thank you, LTO, again. You're awesome. I will talk to you. Remember, 3:15, so coffee break in the afternoon. We're going to get to know LTO a little bit better, and you are going to be amazed. He is one of my favorite people. So have a wonderful day. I hope that everything treats you kindly. If it's time for you to say goodnight, I hope that all your good dreams catch you. We'll catch you on the next space tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye.
Hi, thank you for having me, everyone.